From Challengers Comics and Conversation in Chicago, this is Contest of Challengers. And now, here are Dal and Patrick.
Well, here it is. Part 2 of our Force Awakens coverage. So, Dal, in the movie, when Poe Dameron gets... No, that's wrong. That's as much Star Wars as we'll be talking about tonight.
My new favorite part that I can't stop laughing at when I think about it is the... wasn't he supposed to be some sort of war hero? A little shrug Chewbacca does.
Chewbacca has the best non-lines. So here it is, the first real, and by real I mean the first actually recorded in 2016 episode of Contest of Challengers.
Correct.
The Force Awakens episode that went up right around midnight on New Year's Eve, coincidentally after we'd come back for a repeat viewing of Force Awakens.
Yes.
Was recorded, as you all know from listening to it, the day the movie came out.
Yeah.
So this one is now the first official 2016 episode, and this makes it our 8th calendar year.
Sure.
We started in 2009.
Okay.
10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, yes.
Okay.
Our 8th calendar year of doing this podcast. And as such, it seems that every week our Patreon patrons grow.
That's good.
We have some new patrons.
It's better than the opposite direction.
That's true.
Shrinking is less good.
Although, whenever it's the start of a month, Patreon says, hey, we're starting to collect your pledges. We'll let you know in a couple of days how it's going.
Sure.
So it's still in that couple of days phase. But from what I can gather, our $5 level, our patrons who deserve a shout-out every month...
Yeah.
Not only is it my brother George.
Okay, is this the episode where we're going to do that?
I think so. Yeah.
Our contractual obligation being filled?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Your brother George.
And Artie White.
Thanks, Artie. Thanks, George.
And I think that is all. We had a couple of $1 and $2 ads this week.
I'm sure that now that we're thanking those patrons on the podcast, the hundreds of thousands of people listening to it who are not being thanked are going to feel that envy grow in them. And they're going to race to patreon.com/challengers and at least go for the $5 pledge because they want the glow of that reflected at them.
Yeah, there's only 2 people who can really bask in the reward of their name being mentioned in such a positive light.
They get a little star on their name tag.
And
there's no name tag.
I hope that Artie realizes that we got his name right this time.
We did.
Well, we never get it wrong. It's just that it's changed, and we haven't reflected that in any of our... computer systems or pull and hold services.
I guess we
that.
can. I can do it tomorrow.
Yeah, we can.
Okay.
Well, it's the weird thing is that even when you change it, his account number will stay what it was.
Yes.
So whenever you go to pull it up, you're not going to find him alphabetically.
It depends how you sort things. You can.
Okay.
I mean, we've had to change people before, and it comes up the right way, but you have to make sure that you're searching in the last name field, not in the account number field.
Sure.
So as long as the default is set to last name, you'll find people whose names have changed.
But they stay the same wonderful people inside.
Well, hopefully better people, Like the name is a better reflection of kind of what they want to be, who they want to be, how they want to be seen.
Yeah. Even though we recorded last week, and we're recording this week, we haven't missed a week.
Right.
And it's only been, it was Friday last week and Sunday this week.
Uh-huh.
So, a week and 2 days?
Sure.
There was still a pretty big behind-the-scenes thing that happened in the comics industry that definitely had a lot of retailers talking.
Oh, yes. Yeah. I nearly forgot.
And caused so much controversy that it doesn't even feel like... I mean, it feels like it started forever ago.
Yeah. Relative to when we're recording this, it was news that sort of broke about 5 days ago?
Yeah.
And then settled down 3 days ago?
Yeah, I guess.
In a totally,
Friday-ish.
Totally anticlimactic way?
Yeah. So, what
Thursday,
happened...
No, it settled down Thursday.
No, I got phone calls Friday.
Yeah, but Thursday was the day that it got, quote-unquote, fixed.
Okay.
But fixed in a way that made virtually nobody involved happy.
No.
What we're talking about is Marvel Comics had some problems with their printer. Basically, what ended up happening was that a bunch of books that were printed in advance of the release on January 6th were printed so far out in advance because of the holidays and because of how shipping works that they were printed alongside books that were shipping out on December 30th. Or I should say, were on sale December 30th. So a bunch of January 6th stuff went with the December 30th stuff because the printer didn't realize they were supposed to hold that stuff back. So when it got shipped out to the distributor split it up and shipped it out to their accounts, and it wasn't until...
It was invoiced to us. It was on our invoice with the regular, with everything else.
And 5 days after the invoice was done, 2 days before the books were scheduled to go on sale, comic stores are notified by their distributor, Diamond Comics Distribution, that a bunch of the books that we had already been scheduled to pay for, that they weren't not billing us for, that we still had to pay for on Wednesday, December 30th, and we had already been promoting to all of our customers that they were going to be coming in, that they would be on hold for them. And this wasn't just a small amount of stuff. This was like seven
seven
big Marvel comics.
Major Marvel books, like Amazing Spider-Man,
Obi-Wan and Anakin, Rocket Raccoon and Groot, Spidey,
Spider-Man 2099.
Yeah, it was a bunch of books. I mean, it was the two number one issues that Marvel was shipping that week.
Yeah. Or not shipping that week.
Yeah. So comic stores are notified on Monday, December 28th, that despite, again, having to pay for them and notifying their customers and advertising their release on December 30th, the comic stores could not sell them on December 30th because they were supposed to go on sale January 6th.
Now, this isn't an example of a certain portion of the country being serviced early. This isn't X number of retailers getting it while Y number of retailers don't get those same books.
This was every account that had ordered those books was getting the full amount of what they ordered on December 30th instead of on January 6th. And sometimes this stuff is held back because of some sort of specific story content, what have you. You know, we were going to do a big press release or whatever. And even then, I've never seen anything like this, where Marvel just says, no, you can't sell them. Usually, if there is a street date for a book, how it works is that we are notified in advance, like before we pay for the books, the agreement is this is when they go on sale.
Most typically, this happens in the last week of the year when there's what we call a skip week.
Yes.
When there's no or limited product coming out that week, a skip week meaning nothing's being shipped, but they deliver that material to us a week in advance, so we have it, but we're not charged for it until the following week, or actually 2 weeks after that, when we get our next invoice, because nothing is shipped the week between Christmas and New Year's.
And that's just in the comics industry. In the larger packaged media marketplace, that's business as usual. Stores will get video games, CDs, Blu-rays, what have you, in advance of the release. Books, just regular books at bookstores.
Bookstores get their books well in advance. Up to a month in advance.
Yeah, and they just sit in a back room with a sticker on them that says, not for sale until whatever date, and then you put them on whatever date. Now, the key thing about all of that is agreed upon in advance. When you're placing your order, it is agreed, regardless of when we ship them to you, this is when they go on sale. The comics industry doesn't have that. If you're getting something on your invoice for December 30th, it is all on sale December 30th.
Yep.
Like, if there isn't, it would be in a special section. And also, you're generally not billed for it until it goes on sale. Usually the week after it goes on sale. Those skip week books, if the last week of the year's books were given to us the second to last week of the month, we would not be billed for them until the first week of the next month.
Yes.
So even though we're being asked to hold them, we're not paying for them in advance. So holding them is easy to do. We don't have money wrapped up in that content.
Or things like Free Comic Book Day, we get those slowly over the course of the month prior to Free Comic Book Day. So we have those and have paid for those, but we cannot give them out until 10 a.m. on Free Comic Book Day.
And that's a luxury so that stores don't have to deal with getting that material the day or week of the event. They have a month to sort through them, to separate things, to count things, to check for damages, to get replacements, to read the content so they're familiar with it for the event. All of that stuff is a huge benefit because you've got, that month to not have to be crushed by it. None of that is what happened in this instance.
Man, you just clenched your fist like you were angry. I mean, I know you were saying crushed by it, but it was almost a little bit of a personal, Marvel.
That was a little bit because of what I'm about to say next. None of that was agreed upon for this instance.
Nope, zero. 0%.
This was not an agreement before we got the books in. Now, you could argue that, like, on the site, there's an estimated ship date, but that's an estimated ship date. That's not an agreement that these books don't go on sale until whatever. Because, again, every single time we've got an invoice for books that are coming in on a specific date, and we pay for that invoice,
they're available.
We paid for those books.
Yeah.
They go on sale that Wednesday. If that wasn't the case, we are notified well in advance, and it's a special situation. It is not, oh, you got these books in? Sell them next week. That never
could be,
happens.
hey, there's a couple pages out of order. Please don't sell that book. We're going to replace them.
Yeah.
And it's never been 7 titles.
Yeah. And certainly not in a week where it's basically half of your output. And even worse, the better half of your output. If this was like, again, 1 or 2 books that were like, Spider-Man 2099 and, all new Hawkeye or whatever, I don't care, fine, whatever. But when it's your 2 number 1 issues for the week, and one of them is a Star Wars one that we've been promoting for a week, it's kind of a big deal to make us pay for that and then say you can't sell it till next week. Again, we didn't agree to that beforehand.
Yep.
That's an edict being placed on us by a publisher. So it's not even, well, I decided not to do that, so I'm not going to get these books. It's like, no, it would be like if you went to the grocery store and bought a carton of ice cream. And you go and you pay for the ice cream, and as you're walking out the store goes, okay, now you can't eat that until tomorrow. That's not something you agreed upon beforehand,
right.
And if it was, maybe you wouldn't have bought the ice cream. At that point, you bought the ice cream. It's your
yours.
ice cream.
Yeah.
They don't get to dictate terms anymore. The time for dictating terms is when you're agreeing to a sale, not after that sale's taken place. After the sale's taken place, it's yours. You own it. You do what you want with it. Which is a long way of saying that that's what a few stores did. They decided that, well, our customers think this is coming in. I don't have enough time to notify them. Again, this wasn't 6 days before the books are coming out or 2 weeks before. This was 2 days before the books were going to be on stands. The publisher said, nah, we don't want you to sell it.
I think that you may be giving some retailers a little more credit.
Yeah.
I think that there's a good, I don't know, I'm going to say 30% of the retailers involved, which is every retailer in the country, just never even knew.
Yeah, it was 2 emails sent out by Diamond Comics distributors, and if you didn't happen to check those emails or you didn't understand what they were telling you, you didn't do anything about it. We had more contact from Diamond when they were trying to upsell us on Walking Dead 150 variants.
Oh man,
than we did
on
on this thing where Marvel was saying, please don't sell half of the books you just paid for.
Yep. Now that is definitely, I feel, and you pointed this out in the store, that is a situation that would merit a phone call.
Sure.
Not a phone call saying, FOCs are coming up in Walking Dead 150, and there is that Tony Moore cover. You may be sure you
Sure.
factor that into things.
I assume the phone call didn't take place because for the Walking Dead one, I think they'd said it was the top whatever percentage accounts they wanted to make sure they knew about it.
Okay.
This would have to be a thing where they'd be calling 3,000 something accounts and saying, please don't sell these books, because you might not carry all the image books. You might not carry enough image books to make it worth someone's while to give you a phone call to upsell you. Everybody carries Marvel comics, and everybody carries Star Wars comics.
Yeah.
So they would have to call every single account, and they'd have to do it December 28th and 29th.
And there's
when
so
a lot
many
of people
accounts,
are probably not even in the office.
So many accounts that don't even have reps currently.
Sure. Or, even better, aren't open Monday or Tuesday.
Yeah.
Like, that's a legitimate thing. There's a bunch
true.
of rural stores that are not open 7 days a week, and if they're closed, it's probably going to be Monday or Tuesday.
Yep.
So, yeah, this is a situation that it was almost inexplicable that Marvel would decide to try and put the brakes on this stuff this close to the release. Again, it's not like there's a bunch of weird swears in these books or that they're printed backwards. It's just that Marvel decided we'd rather you sell them next week. Like, rather is maybe not a strong enough feeling to ask thousands of retailers to sit on sellable merchandise that they paid for, that they have money tied up in. And some of them, again, Rocket Raccoon and Groot and Obi-Wan and Anakin are first issues that had a bunch of variants. And if you have a store that sells a ton of variants, you have a lot of money tied up in those 2 books alone. So yeah, basically a bunch of stores, either through negligence or indifference, decided to just sell the books anyway. And some stores sat on them, but definitely tried to threaten, cajole, plead with Diamond and
a
Marvel.
lot of emails were sent to Diamond and Marvel. A lot of pleading and explaining and polite. Like I personally saw 2 different versions go out that were...
Yeah, some of them were like trying to make the case of like, hey, this isn't doing anybody any good for X, Y, and Z reasons. Some of them were, you're killing me. And some of them were just, typical Marvel, that kind of thing.
Yeah. In the midst of all this,
yes.
When we get the invoices for the next week, which is the week coming up for us now...
January 13th.
January...
13th.
36th? No, 6th. No?
Nope. January 6th and January 13th are the first 2 releases.
Right, but when we get the invoices for the 6th...
Yes.
There were books on it for the 13th. So what I'm saying is...
Yes, on January...
On December 30th, when we got that
December 30th,
invoice. So for the Wednesday coming up, the invoice coming out for January 6th, another retailer had noticed, hey, there's 4 more Marvel books on here that say they're not coming out until the 13th.
Yeah, and again, it doesn't say anywhere on the invoice. You have to go to Diamond's database and
look
find
it up.
out when the estimated ship date is. And again, this isn't like a locked-in-stone street date thing. This is just Diamond's database saying, this is when we think it's going to come out, or this is when it's currently scheduled to come out.
Yeah.
Or, historically, when it came out. Not, you can't sell it before this date, just... So if you want to know.
That also causes more questions, like, is this going to be another email? Is it going to be another you can't sell these? And then Marvel makes an announcement that they'll make a decision, was it Thursday? Or was it Friday?
Wednesday they said they were going to tell us on Thursday.
Okay.
Like,
yes,
we
it was Thursday,
wait for an announcement on Thursday. So a bunch of stores are just like, I don't know what's going on now. And so Thursday, Marvel made the announcement. And the announcement was, you can sell them on Friday. January 1st.
Yeah.
We're going to bring in the new year with new comics, which is a great way of selling it to the consumer, which wasn't so great when a lot of retailers and in-the-know consumers responded to that tweet announcement of Marvel's bringing the new year with comics with... the first one that I saw was a store owner saying, a bunch of stores aren't open on New Year's Day.
Yeah.
Like, we already have scheduled the day off for our help and for ourselves. I don't want to have to go into the store because you've told all of my customers that these books are on sale on Friday, January 1st, when we're not open Friday, January 1st.
Yeah, what we didn't say so far was that Marvel's announcement was to the general public via Twitter, not to retailers via Diamond.
Yeah, there was an email through Diamond.
Yeah, but the tweet went out first.
Yeah, I was asleep, so I didn't even see it. So by the time I got up, oh, there it is. They're both there.
Yeah.
So that made a lot of retailers really frustrated, and a bunch of customers were like, they'd either already got their books, or maybe they don't want to go back a second time this week to get another couple books. So it made nobody happy.
Now, it didn't affect us because we already are open. We were open normal hours
Correct.
On New Year's Day and did a regular Friday business for it.
Yeah.
I did have a gentleman call, and he was kind of confused about what he was asking, but he basically said, yeah, Marvel released a bunch of books today? I'm like, yeah, they're here. Yeah, but, you got them today? Like, they're on the shelf right now. But you got them today?
I'm looking right at them, guy.
Technically, no. Everybody got them on Wednesday, or we got them on Tuesday.
Right.
Yeah, but they're supposed to go on sale. I'm like, look, the end of this conversation is the books you're looking for are available on the shelf right now.
Doesn't matter how they
come
got
in
here.
Right now. They are here.
Santa Claus
you can buy them.
Santa Claus dropped them off on Christmas Day.
But to try to answer that in more detail,
sure.
No, they weren't delivered that day. Everybody already had them.
All of that is...
You already had them.
Non-essential information.
There's no way they could be delivered that day because there was no mail, there was no UPS, there was
Which
no
I guess was what was
warehouses
confusing.
being
This
open.
guy was like, wait, but how?
Yeah.
Like, well, again, Marvel's not telling you the tortured history of this tweet.
Yep.
They're just saying, you can go to your comic shop
Look,
and buy books today.
It's a New Year's Day miracle.
We did this for you. Like, you didn't do it for... No, you didn't. You did not.
So then they tell you that the 4 books that are in this week's shipment scheduled for the 13th, you can just go ahead and sell them on the 6th.
Yeah.
That's fine. But the joke's on us this time because we're heavily allocated on 3 of those 4 books, as are anybody who gets their new books out of Olive Branch. We get our... out of Plattsburgh.
Yeah.
We get our
reorder out of Olive Branch.
Yes.
Our regular shipments out of Plattsburgh.
So anybody from Plattsburgh, you can't do it. So we don't. We
One of them, Ultimates. Ultimates number 3 you can buy on January 6th. Hooray. The other 3
Isn't
books...
it number 4?
I think it's... Is it? I thought it was 2.
Ultimates.
I think it's 3.
Either way, it's Ultimates.
Yeah. The other 3... do we want to say what they are?
No.
Okay. The other 3 books, we will have our full allotment, including subscriber copies and rack copies, on January 13th, as was originally scheduled. If it were a small amount that we'd been allocated, we'd probably just suck it up and sell them. We don't have nearly enough to even cover subscribers, let alone rack copies, so everyone will get it on the 13th.
But because this is a geographic allocation, everybody in the Chicago area will
There's not
going
to be rack copies anywhere in Chicago.
Well, unless people don't have club numbers, but it's highly unlikely.
Yeah, no, it's not going to happen. Everyone's going to wait a week. Except for Ultimates, which we have enough of, so you can come get that. That was a weird fiasco, mostly because just the idea of putting the brakes on it was such an irresponsible thing to do.
Yeah.
That it had to be reverted, but the fact that it was going to revert was like, then why are you even doing it in the first place? Like, this is an untenable situation. Like, you're just making the stores that abided by it suffer for no real reason.
There was... This is not us, but there was a store in the area that has another store mere blocks away, and I know that is us, but that's not what I'm talking about.
We're not either of the stores in this situation.
So one of the stores had the books out, and a regular at another store went in and said, "Hey, where are these books? I saw them at this store." Mm-hmm. And so store B sent people to store A to take photos of them on the shelves to send a diamond and say, "Look what this store is doing." Mm-hmm. But the bigger question I had in that situation that never got answered was, why are your customers going to a different store first?
Yeah, and if they were there, why did they not buy it in the first store?
Yeah.
Like, it's a weird thing of like, oh, they had Obi-Wan and Anakin. I'm going to go to this other store and buy it. Like, you're right there. It's not going to cost you any less or more.
And if you're not buying them there because they're not your store, you're going to get them at your store, why were you there in the first place?
Why did you even go in there? Yeah, I mean, I could concoct a story where it's like, oh, someone's friend who shops at that store said they got this book. And so their friend is like, I'm going to go to my store and get it. Like, maybe, but, yeah, it's a really weird, convoluted situation. But anyway, long story short, there was behind-the-scenes nonsense in the comics industry as per usual, and it resolved itself in the dumbest way possible as per usual.
Hooray!
Yay!
Well, let's move on and talk about the sale. This year's sale.
Oh, yeah, that's right, the sale.
This year's I Love You, But I've Chosen Comics, 25% off everything.
Store-wide sale.
Not counting held items, pre-ordered items, or consignment items.
I usually just say the first two.
Yeah.
I mean, if someone wants to do it on local stuff.
Yeah. Well, I went in it.
It's not like local stuff moves that fast or is that much of a revenue stream for us.
True.
It's hurting us to do it.
I did change it.
Yeah.
Because I had to go in and change something else. I'm like, well, I'm there.
Okay.
Since you had two everythings, I asterisked the everythings and put in a line at the bottom. Mm-hmm. So we finally have a shirt design.
Yes.
And did we talk about I'm sure we talked about it. We often talk about creator things that don't go our way.
I don't know that we ever specifically named stuff.
But we're not gonna.
Yeah,
but
there were two creators in succession that we had approached to do a T-shirt this year that one had said they were going to, and then when it came time to finalize everything, they were nowhere to be found. And then the other, I don't know that we ever...
Yeah, the other may just have never gotten the message.
Yeah, that we never had a yes. It was just like, hey, and then they never responded.
Yeah, and honestly, I had to go through Tumblr to find their email address, so it was just like an email address for a blog they do. As far as I know, they don't check that one or whatever.
Sure.
So yeah, we have the ability to ask for an introduction. I mean, we already know this person, but a contact email from somebody we know. But that was down to the wire. Like, maybe we can get this person to do it. So anyway, we do have a shirt, and it's a great looking shirt.
I like it a lot.
And it started where I thought we better have a backup ready. So I started working on a design, and I quickly realized that I couldn't do it justice.
Right.
And there was a lot of photoshopping involved, and whenever there's photoshopping for the store, I turn to Luke Smarto.
Yeah, because this is the sort of thing that you kind of can't half-ass. Like,
Yeah.
you really got to make it look professional because
Yeah.
it's going to be spread around a lot. People are going to be wearing it on their chests and torsos.
And if you want,
it needs to look good.
if you want professionalism, that's why I go to Luke.
Sure.
And then Luke and I worked on it for a bit, and I thought we came out with a good design. But there was another artist's element that we used, and it was an old illustration that this person had done for us, and we'd never really done anything with it.
We made it available, but
it is available,
not in a
but,
way where people were getting it.
And it is still available in that way.
Yeah.
So anyway, we contacted him and said, hey, this is going out. Are you cool with this?
Yeah, we may be using this, in the next few days.
And he said, I'll just draw you something new. And I'm like, no, man, I don't want to waste your time. I mean, I just want to make sure you're cool with this.
Especially not something where the deadline is like a few days.
Yeah.
Like, it's one thing to go to someone and say, like, hey, by the end of the month, can you get us this? But it's another to say, like, hey, in 72 hours, can you get us this? Like, we would never do that.
And he's like, no, I'll do it today. So Mike Norton did do us a whole new illustration, and it's hilarious.
Yeah, and what's great about it is that I would have felt a little bad if all the work that you and Luke had done would have completely been thrown out the window in favor of, like, here's an idea I came up with.
Yeah.
But it's really just, it's this weird thing of, you took a design Mike had done that we hadn't really used, like, sketched out some elements that you'd like to see done. Luke realized those elements in a really cool way. And then Mike basically drew his version of all of that.
Yeah.
So it really feels like this evolution of an idea that passed through 3 different hands.
It was a neat collaboration. Ever the gentleman, Luke has said that we don't need to credit him on this.
Oh, we will.
I know, I took it off. That's the thing I went in to do.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So, I mean, like, we'll get the full, he'll get the full credit here.
Okay.
But he'd rather just be, because Mike did redraw everything.
It's on the flyer and the banner.
Oh, is it really?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't print him out yet, so I can change it if he's completely against it. But I feel like it's accurate.
Yeah.
I mean, at least half of it was his design.
Yeah, that's true.
If he doesn't want to be credited, then I'll honor that, I guess. But I don't feel like it's necessary in any way, and I think it diminishes his input, which I thought was sizable.
Well, you didn't put my name on it.
You specifically said before any of this was done that you did not want your name on it. I would have. I wanted to put you and Luke's name both on it, but you had declined.
Well, I don't
before anything was written up or any advertising was designed.
I don't get credit for saying, hey, draw this thing like that, or whatever.
I don't know.
But either way, the design looks great. It's already up. People will already have known what we were talking about because they would have seen it on our website or on Facebook by now.
Or can go look at it.
Now. It made us both laugh so hard.
Sure, I think it's great.
It's just wonderful.
I thought the initial concept that you had and Luke had realized was really funny. But then, like, seeing Mike's version of it is just so dumb and funny and great. And so, it's so Mike Norton. It's so, oh man, It's great.
It's so Mike. That's the best way to describe it. It's so Mike Norton.
So Mike Norton. I like this year's shirt a lot.
And I got to be art director because he turned in a version like, hey, that's hilarious. However, it's too slight. When you put it on a shirt, it's going to fade away. And then I, did bad Photoshop job to say, this is what it looked like. And he's like, oh, I see. Then he redid it the way it needed to be done.
Yeah, I think it's great. And I think it's a great example that we rarely have of lemons turning into lemonade instead of just lemons turning into more lemons, which is what usually ends up happening. Hopefully the 2 artists that we didn't get a chance to work with this year on the sales shirt are artists that we can work with in the future on future sales shirts. We do one of these every year.
Yeah.
So it's entirely possible that we'll get a shot at them later. I'm incredibly happy with what we have, and I think it's going to be a great 2016 shirt. As always, these shirts are printed to order, so while you can qualify to get a free exclusive sale t-shirt, during the sale from February 7th to February 13th, if you spend over $100, and that doesn't just have to be on sale merchandise. I know there's subscribers who will qualify for that just getting their weekly stuff.
Yes,
they don't even buy a sale thing. They don't need to. So if you spend over $100 on a transaction, you do qualify for a free exclusive sale t-shirt, but we don't make those up until around the 15th or 16th once the sale's done and we know all the numbers and sizes. And they usually take about a week to 10 days to produce, so we usually have them in stock by the end of February.
Well, we're going to go with a different screener this time.
So anything can happen, but I would expect to have them by the end of February.
Yeah.
I usually don't like to say earlier than that because anything can happen.
True.
But yeah, just because it's a sale T-shirt, you don't get it during the sale. So that way, even though you got to wait 2 weeks, you will get the exact size that you asked for, instead of whatever we have left when you come in.
Yeah, hopefully, I don't know, will you take a medium instead of a 2X?
Yeah,
Sorry.
That was the first few years of doing it.
Yeah, it's a much better system this way.
I think so.
Every year there's one or two people that needed to be mailed to them, but that's just occupational hazard.
Yeah, when we switched over, I liked the immediacy of like, here you qualified for it, here's your shirt. But it's just the problem of how many shirts do you get? And inevitably, like people who come in on days 5, 6, and 7 are just going to be like, these are the 3 sizes we've got left. Which one can you do something with?
No, it's a way better system. It's a way better system.
Yeah. Well, speaking of yearly things.
Yeah.
I'm going to do a segue this time.
Oh, wow.
Speaking of yearly things, every year around this time, we follow a little tradition that Brian Hibbs from the Comics Experience stores in San Francisco had started, where at the first of the year, like within the first 10 days of the year, he posts a little thing talking about his top 100 comics and graphic novels for the year. Now, he writes...
We're giving him credit for being the first person to do that?
It's the first person I remember.
All right, he's the person that inspired us, of course.
Yeah, I mean, there's probably someone else who was doing it before him, but his posts inspired us to start doing it, just as a way of, like, providing more points of data. Each store is different, each region is different. People promote different things, and seeing how that's reflected on a list. There's numbers junkies out there, and people who are consumers who get really into the idea of comics retail, probably people listening to a podcast like this, who like to see that sort of stuff come up and hear retailers talk about kind of where things charted and why they charted and what things you can draw from that data. Hibbs goes into a lot more detail about specific things and how he reconfigures his list, and I don't know that we'll hit all of those points necessarily, but there's a few things that I'm sure we can, looking at the list of our top 100 graphic novels, which is the one that's done. We'll probably do the top 100 comics in the next week. The top 100 graphic novels is something that we can hopefully look at and hopefully find a few things in, either on its own or compared to last year's list. When we're done, there's some extra data I did this year that we can talk about. So Patrick, have you looked over the top 100 graphic novels for 2015 list?
Actually, I'm looking it over for the first time right now, and I'm very surprised by a lot of things.
What's jumping out at you?
Well, I guess I'm surprised by the things that are charting very low.
Okay, such as?
Such as Lady Killer.
Yeah.
Lady Killer, we had an event for. We flew Joelle Jones out for it. Yep. And Lady Killer clocks in at number 96.
Yeah, Lady Killer was a book that you would have expected to do a little better. There was one that surprised me, and I guess it's not really fair because it more or less just came out. It was Harrow County, which we did a book plate for.
Yeah.
Doesn't chart at all.
Oh, wow.
I don't think. I could be wrong in that, but I
wow, that's a big surprise.
I browsed through this, and I don't think I saw Harrow County on here. I'm going to look again near the bottom just to make certain, because I'd feel bad if I threw down the gauntlet of, like, Harrow County didn't chart, and then it's like, number 84. No, it didn't.
Did Sisters come out this year, or was it last year?
I think it was last year.
Okay, because otherwise it being as low as it is a surprise.
Yeah, I don't think it was a this year book, but I could be wrong on that. Certainly, if it came out this year, it would have come out very early in 2015, and it would sell substantially better than that. I mean, I know we sold a bunch more copies than that level of the chart.
Often we'll say, oh, this book did so well because we had an event, but looking specifically in the bottom quarter, number 76 is Alex and Ada Volume 3, did a signing for that.
Yeah.
Number 96, Lady Killer. Number 100, Sam Zabel and the Magic Pen, did a signing for that.
Yep.
Wow.
I realized that when I was looking for Harrow County, I was looking at the 2014 list.
No Harrow County. I didn't see Harrow County.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Nimona? Oh, hold on.
Nimona charts twice. The soft cover charts at number 3 for us, but the hardcover, which I think we really only had in through the signing, charts at number 67.
And that's pretty great for it.
Yeah, I would say so.
GHA 1 and 2 are on the list. GHA 3 is not.
No. And that's fairly typical for series books.
Yeah.
usually what you'll see is like Volume 1's continuously charting, and then maybe the newest volume, like Amulet 1 and Amulet 6 chart, but Amulet 2 through 5 don't chart.
Interesting.
And some stuff is just like Hawkeye 5 isn't on this list.
Yeah. Alexinata 2 is 23. Alexinata 1 is 28. And then 3 was what, 97, like I said.
Something, yeah.
That was but still.
All 5 sagas chart in the first, let me see,
2 is 16. Yeah.
And 4 charts at number 1, 5 charts at number 2, and that's mostly because 4 had way more months to sell.
Yeah.
4 came out near the beginning of the year. 5 was like around August, September, I think. Which is still great. I mean, it's still sold a ton of copies.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're going to see that kind of bell curve of a lot of the first volumes and then a lot of the last volumes, and then the middle is, whatever. You'll see that for stuff like Walking Dead and Fables and stuff like that.
7 of our top 10 are Image. One of them is Nimona. One of them is Lumberjanes. So 2 of our top 10 are Noelle Stevenson.
Yes.
The only Marvel book in the top 10 is Ms. Marvel number 1.
Yeah, which I was really interested in because Ms. Marvel is number what for 2015?
Number 4.
For 2014, it was number 39.
Wow.
It moved up the chart that many spaces.
Wow.
And that's a book that's not brand new.
Yeah.
And while I'm sure it had longer to sell this year than it did last year, it's still huge for a book that is not necessarily brand new like that to chart so high.
Look at number 11 this year, Civil War.
Yeah, Civil War. I mean, that's a book that we didn't push exactly, but because of the Captain America movie, I don't know if you know this because you didn't watch any of the trailers, the new Captain America movie is called Civil War, and it's based on the Civil War graphic novel. I know, no spoilers.
Well, thanks for that.
I guess I don't have to see the movie now.
Our first DC book, oh man, I'm laughing because Witches of Echo Park came in at number 14.
Yes.
That's one of them comics without pictures.
Yes, it's the only novel, I believe, to chart on this.
Yeah, Batman Volume 1 from the New 52 is number 13. Yeah. And then The Killing Joke is number 15.
Yep.
Wow.
And then Batman Volume 2 at number 27. I mean, it's basically, for the DC stuff, it's like Batman and some Vertigo stuff.
Here is definitely an example of a signing in our favor. Number 22 is He-Man and the Master of the Universe mini comic collection.
Yeah, there's a bunch of things that are kind of in like the top 50 where it's like, that's not something that we pushed or thought we had an audience for, but people came out for that event and bought that thing on that day.
Well, look at how high Apocalyptic Girl did. Yeah, and that's a book that we didn't even get first round.
No, but we stocked it and we kept it on our display table up front, and we just sold it and sold it and sold it.
Yeah.
And that's pretty cool. Like, that's a neat thing that's possible is when you have a book like that. I didn't find Giant Days, but I'm sure, I hope Giant Days is on this list. It might not be.
I didn't see it.
No, which is weird because I think Giant Days is going to be doing that for 2016. That's a book that people keep picking up and then getting really into. Private Eye Deluxe hardcover came in at number 52, and this is copy sold. This isn't money made, so that's pretty excellent for a book that basically had about like not even 2 months to sell, maybe.
Yeah,
I think about maybe 2 months. I think it was like early November, was it, or was it late November?
I don't remember.
I thought it was late November. Yeah,
I want to say late November.
Yeah, so maybe just like a month, and that thing just because it's the first time in print for a Brian K. Vaughan, Marcos Martin book, like that definitely got people really interested. Yeah.
I'm looking for something, and I don't see it. I see... no, there it is. Okay. I was looking for Fables Volume 22.
Yeah.
It's at number 34.
Yeah.
But because I found Volume 1, which is at number 48, then I found Volume 21, which is much further down, but I'm like, 22 has to be up there because it was the last issue of the book. Yeah. Everybody had to buy that. So, okay, that's fine.
But that's all you're going to find is just, again, those three. Like, you're going to find the first one, the last couple. She-Hulk Volume 1 coming in at number 68 was really interesting to me because that's a book that is over.
Yeah.
Beyond the holiday special, I don't know that an issue came out in 2015.
No, definitely that book came out last year.
Yeah, so that's just on the back of it being good and us recommending it, I think, in that order.
Okay, the first non-Batman DC book comes in at number 60.
Incorrect.
So the Fables books as well.
No, Flash Volume 1 comes in at number 33.
Oh, okay.
Flash 1 and 2, I think, chart on this list, which is pretty interesting because those are just your kind of meat and potatoes DC superhero books, but the Flash TV show is really popular. And during the spring and summer and fall, there was really nothing else to recommend to people beyond the Francis Manapul Flash stuff. Now you can kind of hand people the Jeff Johns Flash Volume 1, but that really just came out.
Yeah. So there's a bunch of Batman,
Yes.
Batgirl,
Uh-huh.
and the two Flashes. That's it for DC out of 100.
Pretty much.
And three Fables.
Preacher Volume 1 also makes the list.
Oh, I didn't see that.
Let's talk some numbers. Here's some numbers I broke down.
Okay.
For the top 100, we had one book that was self-published. That's the May graphic novel by Gene Ha.
Mm-hmm.
We had one book from Oni, which I believe was Six Gun Volume 1.
Six Gun Volume 1 on the list again.
Yeah, well, pretty much always. One novel, which is of Echo Park. One book from Kodansha, which I think was Attack on Titan Volume 1.
Okay.
One book from IDW, which is Transformers vs. G.I. Joe Volume 1, because we
Free
had
Comic Book Day.
a Free Comic Book Day event with the author. We had one book from Drawn and Quarterly, which was Step Aside
Zabel.
Pops.
Sam Zabel.
Nope.
That was Fantagraphics?
Yep.
Oh, right, because
I had to check that.
Palookaville was Fantagraphics. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, Step Aside Pops from Drawn and Quarterly. We had one book from Boom.
Lumberjanes.
Lumberjanes Volume 1. We had two from Fantagraphics, which was Sam Zabel and the Magic Pen. And what was the other one? God, there was something else from Fantagraphics. I gotta look now. I was doing most of this from memory.
Sure. I'm also looking and haven't found it. I'm in the back.
Displacement.
Okay.
Which did we do an event for that?
Yes.
I guess we did.
Yeah, we did.
Harper Teen had two, both Nimona, and softcover and hardcover.
Nimona is. I was going to say, is it our first ever double charting?
Maybe, I don't know. Rarely does something have two volumes that it could have had.
Well, like so many books do that, but
Yeah.
we just usually just get the soft cover.
Correct. We had three books from First Second.
This one summer.
This one summer, Space Dumplings, and The Sculptor.
Okay.
We had four from Graphics. That was Sisters, Amulet 1 and Amulet 6, and Bone Volume 1. We had five from Dark Horse, and I can't remember what all of them are, but trust me, we had five of them.
Apocalyptic Girl is one of them.
Apocalyptic Girl, Athena Voltaire, He-Man, The Masters of the Universe.
Yeah, really, really diverse in different formats and different sizes.
Yeah, there were two other ones. I'm probably near the top of the list, but I don't 100% remember.
Did you happen to see how many of our book plates are on here?
I didn't. We could figure it out later, probably.
Sure. Batman Noel was number 53.
Yeah.
That's a pretty great number for a book that came out 2009, 10, 11, I don't know.
Sure.
It's our first book.
My Management hardcover volume 1, Lady Killer.
Of course, Lady Killer.
So, I'm sorry, My Management, Lady Killer, Athena Voltaire.
Well, you already mentioned the other ones.
There's five of them. I counted before, there's five of them. So, that's kind of like the bottom of the list sort of stuff.
Yeah.
As we get into the larger publishers, Marvel has 14 titles chart.
Okay.
DC has 19.
Oh, wow.
Image has 44 of our top 100.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, it's basically like Image and then everybody else.
Is that a note that you wrote?
Like, what do you mean?
Whether you're looking at it on your phone?
Yeah.
Can you send that to me when this is done?
Yeah, I'll just send you this text file.
That's fine.
It's got a bunch of different data in it that we'll go over. Of those top 100, 5 of them are books that we would normally put in sidekicks. You could possibly have put Nimona in there, but I don't think we do.
No, we don't. But we could.
So yeah, five books for sidekicks, and then
Wait, out of the top 100?
out of the top 100.
Okay.
That's not counting as part of the top 100. It's
That's actually lower than I would have thought.
yeah,
By a lot.
when you look at like okay, so we're going to talk about some larger numbers now because that's just the top 100.
Right.
I also broke down everything we sold graphic novel wise for the year. And how we break that down is a department, which is graphic novels, and then a number of categories. And the categories we use are Dark Horse, DC, IDW, Image, Marvel, other publishers, and sidekicks. Now, unlike the top 100 list, where we broke all those things down and then we said, and these were some sidekicks ones as well, when we do the categories, it's just sidekicks. So when, like, My Little Pony books are not IDW books, they are sidekicks books. Marvel Adventures Ultimate Spider-Man Web Warriors is not a Marvel book. It's a Sidekicks book.
Gotcha.
So I broke down units sold for the year and dollar amount sold for the year for all of these different categories. I should mention that from our half-off section alone, that was 3% of our units sold and 2% of the money we made from the graphic novel category.
Okay.
It was just the half-off section.
Okay.
So, working from the bottom again, IDW,
Yeah.
2% of units sold, 2% of dollars made.
Okay.
Not a ton of stuff from IDW that we sold this year.
Sure.
And basically, like, we don't do a lot with licensed books, and that's a lot of what they do. So, since we're excluding stuff like My Little Pony, which is a huge market for them,
Right.
you're kind of down to just, like, how much do we still sell Lock and Key? Like, because we don't
You said
stock...
it's 3% or 2%?
2%.
And 1% of that is your Transformers books.
Correct. That is my Transformers purchases for the year. Moving up from the bottom, Dark Horse, 5% of units, 5% of
sales.
We do a little bit more with Dark Horse and looking at the top 100 list. I mean, there's 5 placings there, which there's one for IDW, so you can sort of see the difference in how much the top of the chart can kind of help you in the year. Up from there, Sidekicks is 13% of our units sold and 10% of our sales.
Okay.
So while Sidekicks doesn't chart a lot necessarily, there's a lot of books that sell under that top 100 threshold.
Yeah.
Like they sell 3 or 4 or 5 copies over the year, but we don't have a lot in that room that sells 20 and 30 copies a year.
What percentage did you say that was? 10%?
13% of units, 10% of sales.
Okay.
And one of the reasons why I'm breaking out those numbers is to talk about kind of the next few things. Marvel is up ahead of Sidekicks at 16% of units sold, but 20% of sales.
The first time the numbers don't equal.
Exactly, or they're not within a percentage point of each other. Because while we don't necessarily move a ton of Marvel units, the average Marvel price starts at $17 for a softcover and moves up to $25 for a hardcover. So that number is so much greater than an Amulet book or My Little Pony book or a Bone book or a Darth Vader and Son.
Yeah, I would say most Sidekicks books are $12.99 to $17.99.
Yeah, they're in that $10 to $15 range. Marvel's $15 to $25.
And now they have a whole line of $30 and $35 ultimate collections or complete collections that they're doing.
The ultimate collections and epic collections are $40.
Yeah,
those are thick, expensive wedges of story. And again, just your basic all new X-Men hardcover is $25. That's a huge difference in price, and you don't have to sell as many units to make that much money then. Up from there, above that is all of our other publishers, which again is just basically everybody that isn't Dark Horse, DC, IDW, Image, Marvel, or Sidekicks. So everybody else, every small press, every back of the catalog publisher is 17% of units and 18% of sales.
Okay.
Then our final two, DC is 21% of our units sold, but 24% of our sales. Image is 23% of units, but 19% of sales. And to kind of put that into a real number perspective, we sold more Image graphic novels this year than we did DC graphic novels, but our Image category made almost $9,000 less for us than our DC section did.
Wow.
And this is something, and the reason I broke these numbers out was because reading over the Brian Hibbs report from this year, talking about his stores and his graphic novel sales, he made a mention of the fact that he felt like Image was underperforming relative to the sales velocity of those books, specifically because almost all of the Image first volumes are $10. And that seems like a thing that's going to be great to draw in readers, but what he's finding, and I think what these numbers are bearing out, is that it's not necessarily that people would only buy Saga Volume 1 if it was $10, or Copperhead Volume 1 if it's $10. $15 for that book is still a really reasonable price, considering that most Marvel stuff doesn't even start at $15 for the same amount of material and softcover.
Correct.
And Marvel is a much bigger publisher than Image is. So it seems like Image is leaving a ton of money on the table by not pricing their books more in line with where the rest of the industry views their material. Like, Marvel and DC softcovers are not $15 for 6 issues. They're like $17 or $18 for the same amount of material. And they're sure as shit not $10 for 5 or 6 issues. They're just not. Like, that's not a number they do. And they could, and they don't. And I think that's a thing that like Hib suggests, I think Image needs to reevaluate that in 2016. Not even necessarily for our sake as a store, because we still made a ton of money on Image graphic novels, but that's more money that Image creators could be making off of those books. And I know from talking to some of those creators how difficult it can be to make money on those $10 first volumes. Like, you are taking a hit on that in hopes that people will read volumes 2, 3, and 4. And I got to tell you, looking at this list, I see a lot of volume 1s charting. I don't see a lot of volume 2, 3s, and 4s. So yeah, that was really eye-opening to me, that the differential between an Image and a DC, that Image can sell, 2% more out of 100% of what we sell for our sales. It can be 2% higher than DC, but make us so much less money. So much less.
Since you broke it down by dollar amount, did you happen to do it by units?
I did both, yeah. The unit difference is we sold 149 more graphic novels from Image than we did from DC. And we made $9,000 less.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. That's kind of fascinating.
Yeah, it's a big number. Like, I wouldn't have mentioned it if it was like, well, $800. Like, no, $9,000 less. Yeah, that was a hell of a number to see on the page and be like, oh shit, really? Yes, really.
Oh yes.
Yeah. To put it in another perspective, our number 1 publisher unit-wise was our number 3 publisher
dollar-wise.
It was less than Marvel.
Huh.
And for the Marvel one, yeah, our sales were higher on Marvel graphic novels, but we sold almost 800 more units in Image than Marvel.
Yikes.
To make less money.
Oh, man.
So, yeah, the pricing on Image graphic novels is maybe something that needs to be revisited, because holy shit, dude, like, there is probably some stuff where people were convinced, like, well, I wasn't going to get this, but I'll get it for $10. But again, I think the $15 price point, as borne out by a lot of publishers, is not an unreasonable number. And taken 33% off of your sales price for that first issue is not making you enough new readers to make up that amount.
It certainly doesn't seem like it makes it worthwhile to them.
Yeah,
Although I feel weird talking about saying, hey, it's okay, you can raise prices.
If I had even anecdotal evidence of someone saying, I wasn't going to get that, but I'll get it because it's only $10, like, I don't think that's true, mostly because, again, it's not like it would have been 20 but you made it 15. No, it would have been 15, which is a fair price across the market as far as everything I can tell, and you're making it 10 for almost no reason, for no real gain. It's like if you were negotiating with someone and you were trying to sell them something, and you said, it's $20, and they said, I'll pay 15, and you said, no, 10. Like, they were already fine with 15. What are you going down to 10 for? Yeah, so Image, something to think about in 2016. And I mean, I know that's a shitty thing for any publisher, PR-wise, to say, like, hey, we're raising our prices because we can. But you honestly can.
Are you kidding? Why do you think Marvel went from $2.99 to $3.99?
And that's the thing. Marvel doesn't give a shit. Marvel is fine doing that. People can bitch and moan all they want, but where else are you going to get your Spider-Man comics?
I remember the quarter increments. Well, obviously the nickel increments. But then it became a dime, then a quarter. But then, like, just so blatantly, a buck?
Yeah.
A whole other buck.
Yeah, here you go. So, yeah, that was the data I got and the numbers that I cranked out for the top 100 graphic
kind of
novels.
Amazing.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting. Like I said, I'm probably on a later podcast, maybe the next one. Hopefully we'll have the top 100 comics done and we can talk about that one. That, because of the way a lot of different covers are done, we combine all of those numbers.
Yeah. And
Marvel especially, like, with multiple printings, can skew those numbers. We don't look at, like, Ant-Man #1 first print, Ant-Man #1 second print as two different comics. They are collectively Ant-Man #1, so we need to add those numbers together. And it's super tricky this year because there's a bunch of books that had multiple #1s and multiple #2s, and I have to go take a stock code and plug it into Diamond's database and go, which one is this?
Yeah, right?
So that's fun. But I'll be working on that through the week, and I'm already up to the C's, I think.
So you add variant covers into all those?
I do, yeah, because the way we do it, those are just regular sales.
Okay.
I think of those as regular sales. I think of a person buying the hip-hop cover is for us at least, usually someone who would buy the regular cover. They just want the hip-hop cover instead. Or someone who's buying the Harley Quinn variant or whatever. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm fine with that. I'm fine including that in our copy sales.
That makes sense.
Yeah, that's how we've done it the last few years, so at least the data analysis is standardized. Yeah, I think that was everything I had from that top 100 graphic novel list.
Cool.
Yeah.
I really like the extra work that you put into it.
I honestly wouldn't have done it if it wasn't for Hibbs bringing that up and me going like, really? And then looking at, like, through the year I usually categorize everything just for my own interest.
Sure.
So I can look and see, like, how well are different publishers doing for us? Because, again, like, we look at it like, Image is doing great, and DC's doing okay, and Marvel's not doing that great. And it's like, Marvel's doing probably as well as DC is now, mostly because DC isn't doing super great.
Right.
And
again, this is just for graphic novels.
Yeah, but at the same time, for the Marvel stuff, like, we've definitely put a lot more sales pressure on, you know, books like Ms. Marvel and She-Hulk and Squirrel Girl and Ant-Man, and, you know, they've had more movie and TV stuff that we can steer people towards, like Daredevil, Man Without Fear, Jessica Jones, Civil War, in a way that
spoilers,
the DC stuff, Batman. I mean, maybe there's a Suicide Squad book we can turn people on to next year. I guess the
John Ostrander, Book McDonald stuff. Yes,
there you go. Sure, Legends. It's got Suicide Squad in it, right?
How about that Deadshot miniseries by Christos Gage?
Yeah, that'll be back in print, I believe.
Yeah,
it's actually already in print. I think it came out again recently.
It did. It's right up there.
People are going to look at that book and then go, why is he white? And that's going to be a whole conversation.
You know, all this talk about numbers.
Yeah.
I did all of the end of year paperwork.
Thank you, by the way.
You're welcome. I did it all on.
I was not looking forward to having to do that first thing Monday.
New Year's Day, I did all that, but I did like everything, like almost everything for our taxes.
Cool.
Which, at first, I'm like, I'll have plenty of time to do this because it's going to be a slow day.
Mm-hmm.
But Donovan can attest to the everything that I wanted to do turned into something else. Like, I had asked the Thursday guys to take an extension cord down.
Okay.
But then they took the whole dinosaur down and then put it somewhere in the back room in the way of where something else goes. Right. So I had to stop and move that out of the way and bring it out just so I could take it apart when it was, you know, like all these little extra stuff that kept adding up.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway.
Real quick, I was rearranging some stuff in my room and I had basically like 8 empty shelves and I needed to move things around, but everything was like, I have to move this to free up these things, to move this here, to move that there. So it was this weird like mental puzzle of like, what is the least amount of moves to get everything in a new spot without having to move stuff back and forth?
Yep.
But anyway, so
it's a good brain.
You had stuff to do.
Well, long story short, I did all the end of year numbers for 2015.
Yeah.
And our grand total of 2015, which was basically our 8th year of business. Not a full year, but basically our 8th year of business.
Okay.
Was within a couple $1,000s of where our business plan predicted we would be at the end of year 2.
Yeah, boy, that was a optimistic business plan. What you're saying is we got there. And
almost.
And in fairness, and I hope no one from any of our accreditors or lenders is listening to this, there was no analysis or work done on those numbers. Those were pie in the sky numbers. Those were, here, give us money.
Well, those were based off of...
That wasn't a business plan, other than like in the biggest air quotes you can make.
I do believe there were talk of making chocolate chip cookies and watching Friday Night Lights in the business plan itself.
Wow, that's how long ago it was.
Yeah.
I do still like chocolate chip cookies and Friday Night Lights, though.
Those numbers weren't completely erroneous, but they were based off of what our experience had taught us for the regions we were coming from.
Yes.
Not, hey, there's going to be an economic recession, and...
Yeah, an economic recession that is already underway as we're asking you for money, but you just don't know it yet.
Yep.
And luckily, the bankers didn't figure that out until a few months after they gave us money, so ha ha ha, joke's on you.
The good news, though, is we are close to having paid all that off.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah. I mean, close.
Sure.
Close. 8 years later.
Sure.
That's a thing. We're getting there.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, I love that. It's like, oh, we're at almost year 2 numbers.
Uh-huh.
Yay, challengers.
Yep. Slow but steady.
That's okay. Wait until you see what year 3 is supposed to be.
Oh my god. Year 3, we'll be riding to work on golden chariots.
Year 3, by the way, was also the... I think by year 5 it was the plateau of where it's supposed to be.
Sure.
And
I mean, the idea was, and this we can attest to because it did happen, just not nearly on those levels. You're growing your business, hopefully, by leaps and bounds in years 1, 2, and 3, and 4.
Well, I can just tell you that we are now 2/3 of where we would expect to level out at.
Sure, that's good. Room for growth. I like what I'm hearing.
That's right.
That's good because I got plans for a lot of money in year 9. So
for the store or for you?
No, for me.
Oh,
I got a very extravagant lifestyle I'm planning on having.
Pass. Yeah, it's...
Fine, I'll just get the one pool. Jesus, slave driver.
Tomorrow, after work, we're going to go get our yearly supply of ramen.
and rainwater that we've been collecting in drums.
Come on, snow. So we have events that we've talked about, but you can... write up and post the Xander Cannon thing. There should be a flyer made for already. But seeing as how we just bought his airfare today...
Sure, and who knows, maybe in the next 24 hours you'll have a date for me on another event.
Yeah. But, I mean, Xander's pretty much carved in stone.
The Xander one, I figured.
Yeah.
But I'm not at the store to do anything about it.
Right, no, so. Of course. But we talked about that one before.
We did.
But here's one that you don't know about.
I don't.
You don't. It is the Saturday night of C2E2.
SATURDAY.
Night. The Saturday night of C2E2, an event at the store.
It's one of my favorite songs. I just want to mention that.
Is it really?
Bay City Roller?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. I love that song. I don't know why.
It over Shake Your Groove thing? Also at Bay City Rollers? Shake, shake, shake. Shake, shake, shake. Shake your booty.
Saturday night.
Shake your groove. We are doing a comedy/book release event.
What the?
For The Doorman.
Okay.
The Doorman is a book written by a Chicago comedian whose name I don't remember.
Great.
And
perfect.
A former Chicagoan, Daniel Kibblesmith, who is now a writer on The Late Show.
It's not Elliot something or other, is it? From for the main writer for Doorman?
Well, Daniel's the main writer, but they're co-writers.
Okay.
No, I don't. Maybe? I don't know.
I'm going to look it up. Keep talking.
Well, anyway, The Doorman is it's described as like a Doctor Who, Rick and Morty kind of mashup where there's a guy called the Doorman who basically guards a dimensional doorway. But he's in a classic old school elevator type of doorman outfit. And it's his last day on the job and his position is being eliminated because the society and technology and things are different. But of course, wackiness ensues and it's a series that comes out of that. But everybody involved in it is rooted in comedy. So they're going to do some stand-up sets and bring in some of their comedian friends in. And then it's going to be a release party for the book as well.
Nice.
Yeah.
For the record, it is incredibly difficult to find their book under the Google search Doorman comic.
Yeah.
Because, as Patrick very well knows, and most Squirrel Girl fans are familiar with, the Doorman was a member of the Great Lakes Avengers.
Yes, of course.
So he comes up a whole lot on the first page. But on page 2, I got a link to Elliot Rahal. I was right.
Oh, you were right. Okay.
Heyo.
How did you remember that?
He's also one of the writers on the Paybacks.
Oh, right. Okay, that's why.
The one who's not Donny Cates.
Yeah. And Ghost Fleet.
Okay, sure.
Maybe? No? Okay, maybe not. But yeah, Paybacks
the Paybacks and Hunter Quaid at Dark Horse Comics, the Doorman at Heavy Metal. He's also done stuff for Stella Comics, or I think it's Stela. That's how it's pronounced.
And, we love Paybacks. Paybacks is a lot of fun.
And Valiant.
So, the two of them will be there. I don't think the artist will be, but they'll be back in town for C2E2.
So is that two C2E2 things we've got going on that weekend?
Yes, that Thursday. We don't have a time for Thursday.
The Poison Ivy team is going to be doing something for
Yeah.
Okay.
It may be day, it may be evening, I'm not sure.
We'll see.
And yeah, now a Doorman comedy night, but like I said, all these guys are rooted in comedy, and they'd asked and said, "Hey, do you?" Basically, I was Daniel Kibblesmith was on Millionaire Matchmaker.
Yes,
back in the day.
He's not the only one, Patrick.
And they filmed a segment for that show in Challengers.
Yes, and segment is being very gracious. It's a sequence of him like getting off at the Blue Line station at Western, like walking in the front door and looking around the store, and then like buying something at the counter. But each one of those things is like 1.5 seconds long. It's basically just a framing device of like, this is what this guy does when he's not being a millionaire.
Right.
They must have filmed for, I feel like, at least an hour for what amounts to like 4 to 5 seconds.
You made it on screen, though. You're on Bravo.
I did.
You can find that clip on our YouTube page.
How young we all were once.
Oh, indeed.
The best part was like the coming in the front door thing. Like they were so specific about how it needed to be shot that he must have had to come in that door like 24 times.
Yeah.
Because it was just like, no, this car is coming by. No, there was this angle. No, do it this way. And it's like, he's walking in the front door. But like they have to keep redoing and getting safeties and whatever else. It's just like, Jesus. This must be the most boring job on the planet.
But he'd moved away and he got a job writing for The Late Show.
Yeah.
With Stephen Colbert. Mm-hmm. And he's actually been on screen a couple times.
Cool.
On the show. But he and I had been talking about Christmas music via the email, and he's like, "Oh, by the way, I have a book coming out," and he sent me a link, and I'm like, "Dude, I know about it. I read an interview with you guys.
We're ordering it.
I know all about it." And he's like, "Well, we're going to be in town C2E2." I'm like, "Let's do something." And he said really nice things. He said, "Even though I live in New York, you're still my local shop."
Aw.
Yeah, right?
He's a sweetheart.
Yeah. And he said that he's very excited to do a release thing for it at Challengers.
Yeah, that'll be fun.
So I'm like, yeah, of course, we'll absolutely do this. Because he'd said, "Do you guys still do a comedy thing?" I'm like, no, but we can. Yeah, like it could be a one night only thing, sure.
We don't pursue it, but make us an offer.
And another big February event fell in our lap, but we don't have a date yet. It's confirmed, and there was a secret. Not an Easter egg, a nod. What would you call it in the newsletter last week?
Oh yes,
a clue
or a pun. I don't know, both.
Yeah, and Mike Lee picked up on it, but wasn't sure which iteration it was. So he listed a couple people, and then said, "Or it's a typo," but he didn't list the person that it was. So that was kind of neat. So hopefully
Roger. It's Roger. That would make Jimmy so happy.
Yes, it would.
There's another clue, I guess. I don't know, which is a joke because probably by the time this thing goes out, you'll know.
No, this is going out.
Oh, immediately?
Immediately,
okay.
yeah.
Then you won't know.
You won't know.
You'll probably know in the next day or two.
But it's exciting, and it'll be.
And that reminds me, I got to start talking to people now that it's the Monday after the holidays about locking down the April thing.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I got to get on that.
Yeah, you may want to wait a couple days because everybody's going to have them out. Like I feel like having things waiting for them on their first day back,
I suppose,
is.
I mean, it's not like I lack for things to do on tomorrow.
On tomorrow.
But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of fun stuff that we've got coming up over the next 3 or 4 months. I think it's kind of amazing. We definitely went light on stuff the last few months of 2015 for a variety of reasons. Some of it logistical and some of it just not finding anything that we were super excited about. But people got a lot of good books coming out.
But this is our last podcast to hype the Ryan Brown event, because that's Friday.
Yes. Friday,
And,
January 8th.
That'll be a whole lot of fun, because Ryan Brown parties always are. And it's not too early to say that we already have a vague commitment for another
Yes.
Ryan Brown and friend thing
Yes.
later in the year that we're excited for as well.
Yeah, that should be super duper fun.
Yeah.
But Blast Furnace is a tremendous book. If you're a fan of the really early GHA stuff, the pre-image stuff when it was way more like stream of consciousness and just like absurdity, Blast Furnace is the book you're looking for. It's the loosest, craziest thing Ryan's ever done.
And that's saying a lot, because that dude does
Yeah.
a lot of crazy stuff.
Yeah, that dude works crazy into a gigantic 10-issue GHA epic. So when Blast Furnace has a rule of, I can't plan what's going on the next page and I have to do this one in an hour, it's going to get nuts. Like,
Yep.
It's going to be an insane story. Plus, it's newly recolored Part 1 and an all-new color Part 2. I'm sure there will be a ton of bonus stuff. Ryan usually never lacks for a bunch of interesting making of behind-the-scenes materials to throw into the back of his books.
Yeah.
One of the things that I think Ryan doesn't get enough credit for is, for a guy who's a very DIY, self-publishing kind of guy, his books look great.
He's got a very good eye for production design.
Yeah, his graphic design skills are top-notch. You feel like you're getting a book that, a dozen people have labored over, when really it's just Ryan laboring over it.
One person's crazy living nightmare / dream.
Yes, his waking nightmare. I think the complete Blast Furnace is a hell of a good buy, and certainly maybe the first thing you'll spend money on in 2016 that you won't regret later.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think that's a good place to stop. Our first podcast of 2016.
Yeah, our Frankenstein podcast.
They won't know that.
I think they'll figure it out.
No, they won't. It'll seamless.
It's going to be so subtle. Never know.
Just because this was recorded in several different parts, it'll all be put together. Happy New Year. Thanks for listening.
Keep reading comics.
This has been Contest of Challengers. Thanks for listening. Keep reading comics. Challengers is located at 1845 North Western Avenue in the Bucktown neighborhood of Chicago. 773-278-0155. You can visit Challengers on the web at challengerscomics.com. You can direct email to challengers@challengerscomics.com. You can become a fan on Facebook at facebook.com/challengerscomics. And you can follow Challengers on Twitter at twitter.com/challengers.
That's just because
Don't go ruining the magic.
there was this gas leak, and we had each passed out briefly, and then when we woke up, we didn't remember what we were talking about, so there was no segue. We just started talking.
We started talking again. That's right. I do think that gas leak or not, it can definitely be related to faulty plumbing.